Hello everyone, and welcome to an IoT Sparks live webinar. And this is Dario Maccarone, and I'm happy to invite you and to follow our webinar, which is very interesting today. It's very practical. You will see in more or less half an hour, a little bit more probably, how easy it can be today to deploy and to start your own IoT solution, starting with the sensors, and in this case with two easy-to-use platforms such as LoRaWAN and Blynk, and with a sensor already, say, transform this data into an IoT application. This is something, say, that today is very easy thanks to technology. And I won't be alone today talking about this, but with me I have two speakers, two guests. One is friend and colleague Alan Rae, Chief Sales Officer at LoRaWAN, and we also have Henrik Hollen, Product Growth Director at Blynk. He is also a former entrepreneur, also in the IoT sector, and successfully exit his startup, sold to acquired by Enel in 2020. So both of them has together probably more than 20 years experience in the sector, and they also have one other things in common, which is they know the customer. They know what the market needs. They know where the pain is when it comes to develop and transform any idea to a solution. And what they do is basically helping these customers to successfully deliver their solution. So let me welcome them. Hello, Alan. Hello, Henrik. Welcome again.
Thank you, Dario.
So how are we going to proceed for this webinar? First of all, Alan and Henrik will give a short introduction of what LoRaWAN and Blynk are and do. And then they will, as said, this is a very practical webinar, so they will go through the platform and install a small device. In this case, it's a smart SIM panel at my side, and show you practically how it can be easier to deploy it, install it, and see already the data doing something. That's something that you want to do. So without any further ado, I leave the floor to Alan, and see you for the Q&A session at the end. Thank you very much, and enjoy the webinar.
Perfect. Thank you, Dario. And yeah, good day, good afternoon, good morning to everyone joining from around the world to watch the webinar. And as Dario said, today we're going to have a look at practically adding or creating a LoRaWAN solution end to end, right, in the short time that we have. And just to give you a bit of background about LoRiot, we are a 10-year-old company. We've been in the LoRaWAN space pretty much from the beginning. So, you know, our heritage and all our work and efforts is in the IoT space. We are based here in Zurich, and we also have offices in Valencia and Budapest. And we're around about 45 employees now. And for the last 10 years, you can say we've been supporting customers who essentially want to build their own IoT solutions and require a LoRaWAN radio network in order to deliver the data for those IoT solutions to the cloud or to the application servers. And in that space, LoRaWAN really focuses on small to medium to large deployments. You know, in IoT, a lot of projects start with a few devices and it takes time, but over time we build up to the larger numbers. But we support a lot of global enterprises with their LoRaWAN networks, and because of that, we are ISO 2001 and 9001 certified, and we do pen testing every year on our network server software. So to give you a quick overview where we fit in this chain and what we're going to cover on the demo today. In general, LoRaWAN, for those who are new to the technology, is a type of radio technology that enables, let's say, small battery-powered devices or devices that don't need to send data in real time or with high bandwidth to be able to send their data to the cloud or to an application server in order to transfer or translate that data into actions or values or business metrics that can be used to cut costs or improve efficiencies and so on. LoRiot is falling into place, let's say, at this component, which is the network server, and I will cover today connecting a LoRaWAN sensor to the network, connecting a gateway, and then a little bit about what the role of a LoRaWAN network server is in this end-to-end architecture. And then Henrik will take over and show us the real use of this data in the application server. So as I say, for the last 10 years, LoRaWAN's been building and maintaining this LoRaWAN network server. This is a software, this is a platform. We will go into it and we'll see how easy it is for anyone to get started with LoRaWAN. And the process we do today will be the same as if we were connecting one device or 100,000 devices. Okay, so with that, I'll hand over to Henrik and he can give an introduction.
Thanks, Al. So for over a decade, Blynk has helped companies connect people to their products. Over 2 million developers have built on Blynk, everything from small prototypes to solutions that serve hundreds of thousands of people every day. And anything from small startups to large corporations use Blynk. Now, the reason this is so good is that they use the same platform from when they start all the way to scale. They have access to the same tools, the same opportunities, but can take it from just starting another free account all the way to private infrastructure managed by Blynk. And the Blynk platform offers a full end-to-end solution here, from connecting everything from cellular, satellite, Wi-Fi, and of course, LoRaWAN to our managed cloud, where a web console allows you to handle your users, organizations, access control, analyzing your data, and of course, showing your data to the customers in the console. We also have a drag and drop app builder, so you can create really great app user experiences without needing to do any coding. Now, in the demo that we'll go into, I will be focusing on web console. So I also wanted to share just a very quick view of the opportunities for things you can build with our drag and drop mobile app development. So as you can see, all of these are built with our pre-built UI elements and features. So whether you're building electric chargers, scooters, or coffee makers, or really anything else, you can build a user experience that suits you, your brand, and your customer needs. And I hand over to you, Alan, for the demo.
Overview both organizations. And now what we're going to do is, let's say, actually practically, in the short time we have, connect a solution together, right? So just to begin, as I mentioned, LoRaWAN network server is kind of that software in the middle of the chain that enables the hardware, the physical devices, to be able to connect to the cloud and forward their data to the cloud. And then we can push that data onto the Blynk platform in order to build all those very, very nice visualizations and dashboards and analytics and so on. Just to be clear, that anyone can get started with the LoRaWAN network server. So if you visit our website and go and register a free account, we do have public servers that are free to access all around the world. And you can actually add 30 sensors and as many LoRaWAN gateways as you like completely for free. And then if it does work out and you want to proceed to, let's say, a SLA back service, we also have, let's say, SLA servers available on the system as well. So I'm going to use the Frankfurt server. And here you can see that once I've created my account, I can log into it, right? Now, the network server's role is not to let's say necessarily turn data into like where is your scooter or is your parking sensor occupied or not. It's to be able to connect all those gateways and LoRaWAN devices and monitor, measure, and set alerts on the performance of those resources on the network, right? Now, in order to build a LoRaWAN network, we have to obviously connect a LoRaWAN gateway, and a LoRaWAN gateway essentially looks a little bit like this, and it's typically looking a little bit like a wireless router or something like that for an indoor one, or an outdoor one might be weather protected, IP67 protected, so you can stick it outside on a building and so on. But this is essentially your listening device, your antenna, to be able to receive all the messages from your sensors. So in order to get those data, first we have to connect our LoRaWAN gateway, which is, let's say, literally the gateway to the cloud. Now, on the LoRaWAN network server, what we can do is create a new network, and a network is essentially a kind of folder or organization of all your gateways. So you might create a network that is based on location or your customer or type of model, or you just have all the gateways in one big network to be able to see them, right? Now, one beauty about the LoRaWAN ecosystem is that there's thousands of LoRaWAN devices on the market, off-the-shelf devices that you can buy for the sensor. And for the gateway, there's also many manufacturers who all provide their own LoRaWAN gateways. So there's a lot of choice. And with the LoRaWAN network server, you're not tied to any one vendor. You can use pretty much any LoRaWAN certified gateway manufacturer in the market. And once you have got your gateway, then there's a kind of bit of a choice as to how you connect that gateway to the LoRaWAN network server. In essence, in our recommendation, or let's say what's standard in the industry, is what's called LoRa Basic Station. It's a kind of software running on the gateway in order to communicate to the network server and configure, let's say, your server URL, which in this case is EU1, and then that gateway will connect to the LoRaWAN network server. But in LoRaWAN's case, we also have built, let's say, an additional software on top of Basic Station called our Edge Agent, and this effectively adds additional management, performance, alerting, log tools on top of the gateway itself to create, let's say, a better connection, a more manageable gateway between the network server and the gateway, and long-term have much better analytics and performance to ensure it's connected. In short, typically to register your gateway, you need to obviously give it a name and add its gateway EUI or MAC address. And you can also add the location of the gateway. And then essentially it will register on the network server. There are a few steps to then configure the gateway to point to the server. But for this, for the time we have today, we'll jump to the device side. But we have got plenty of documentation on our documentation site and how to go through that step-by-step process of connecting your LoRaWAN gateway. But essentially, manually should be pretty doable within a few minutes. And there's also API available if you want to automate this process. And what you do for one gateway will pretty much be the exact same process as if you were doing it for 1,000 gateways. So it's very easy to scale and put these processes in a kind of automated methodology. Okay, so here I already have a gateway connected. So we can see my gateway is connected, it's online, it's telling me the latency to my network server. And effectively, it's now listening for a LoRaWAN device. There are lots of additional tools for my gateway. I can enable alerts to tell me if it's gone offline, if it has high latency. I can see some radio metadata on this gateway once it starts receiving packets. Essentially, this page is all about ensuring that this gateway is performing as it should and is there delivering data for my devices. And ultimately, if you've got thousands of gateway out there, you need to make sure they're all connected online. Okay, so once we've added our gateway to the network server and it's online, effectively, that gateway is listening for devices and it will forward any packet over its WebSocket connection to the network server. So the next step is to connect our device, right? We need to get some data into the server. So we can create an application. And an application, again, is a kind of logical folder for formatting of where you add your devices. It also has one more, let's say, element, which is it also determines where the data should be forwarded to for these devices registered within this application. So we'll cover that in a second. But as you can see here, I've already got some, let's say, historical data from the device I connected and what we're going to connect now. Some previous data I was testing earlier today. And now we can go through the process of adding a LoRaWAN device. So if we go to enroll a device, essentially all LoRaWAN devices follow pretty much the same process for registration. We need to know what version of LoRaWAN it is, and typically 99% of devices are version 1.0. And then the minor version, which will be provided by your manufacturer. You should be very easy to understand this. Then we can call our device, for example, sample. And in this case, I have a class A device, which essentially means this is a battery-powered LoRaWAN device. It transmits, and then it goes to sleep. And it spends 99% of its time actually sleeping until it needs to transmit or it detects an action where it needs to transmit. There is also class C. These are battery-powered devices, so you can transmit and receive much more often on these. And power consumption is not really a constraint, right? So you can obviously send a lot more traffic and so on. However, with all radio and all LoRaWAN devices, there is a 1% duty cycle, which means your device is not allowed to transmit for more than 1% of the time in a day. Otherwise, let's say it's considered a very spammy device on the airways. And it wouldn't be good practice for all the other people who are using the 868 megahertz band, which is a free-to-use unlicensed spectrum for anyone to utilize. So the free, let's say, credentials we require for a LoRaWAN device, the device EUI, which is typically a 16-digit hexadecimal format, and a join EUI, and then eventually the app key, right? And this will basically provide the network server with the specific credentials for this end device. And now we've provisioned the device. If we go back here, at this step, now what I need to do, I have, as Dario mentioned, this MileSight device here, which is a kind of smart panel. I need to restart the device. So I'll use my mobile phone on the device. It has a kind of nice NFC capability. And then if we check the logs, you can see that I've created the device on the network. It's just rebooting, flashing at me a little bit. And then if we give it a second, the device will join the network. 2 seconds. Here we go. So what we can see in the logs is that the device transmitted what's called a join request. And this is a broadcast to say, is there a network out there that I can join and has the correct credentials for me? Our gateway received that information, and our network and forwarded it to a network server. The network server recognized this device because we've just registered it, and it sent back via the gateway, so a downlink, broadcast that, and the device heard the downlink from the network server that it had the correct credentials. So now the device knows it's joined the LoRaWAN network, and it can happily, ideally in best case, the next 10 years just keep sending data, and I never have to touch this device again, which is one of the beauties of LoRaWAN, is that the operation effort required is very minimal once you get these devices set up in the field. And there's deployments of hundreds of thousands of devices out there, all communicating happily out in the field. So as you can see, I also sent a data up. So I clicked my device's button, and it's transmitted a payload to our network server. And it also includes a lot of radio metadata about how this device is performing, which gateway it used, and eventually what will happen is we then need to forward the data to Blynk, right? At this point, we've connected our gateway, we've added our sense to the network, we've received data, but it's no good if it ends, the story ends here. We now need to use that data. Now, LoRiOt can forward the data in its kind of raw JSON format, or it can send payload, the decoded data to Blynk, right? Now, in order to send that data to Blynk, we need to configure an output from the network server. Essentially, where do we want to push this data? And we have lots of different outputs available. You can pretty much connect any IoT platform using the standard APIs, HTTP and MQTT. And then you can also use pre-built existing platforms. And in this case, we're pushing the data to Blynk by putting in a custom URL that will be provided in Blynk, and then the Blynk platform will start ingesting all the sensor data that comes from the LoRaWAN network server. So hopefully, let's say in 5-10 minutes, we've managed to use our gateway to connect to sensor, receive data, and then push it to the Blynk platform. And we can replicate this for 1 or 100,000 devices, and all the data forwarded to the Blynk platform to now be used in the clever ways that Henrik's going to show you in a minute. Okay, so Henrik, data's coming to you now.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so to use the data that we're now sending in the Blynk platform, you log in, you can use a free account and grow from there, and you need to create a template. So templates are essentially a description of what a product looks like. And in this case, we have a smart building sensor that I've set up already, and I've even generated a few devices off this. Now, the core of the template are these data streams. Now, data streams define what data comes from the device into Blynk. In this case, I've created a device that has temperature, humidity, battery, and signal. And you set these up as pins. You define the data type, min-max values and unit types, and whether you can use them in automations or not. And then that is the basis of the device. Now, you can then create individual dashboards for each one of these devices, whether you're using a LoRaWAN device or any other type. You have a drag and drop setup where you can just pull and move devices or information around, define what you want to show. You can easily adjust the look and feel as you want, change elements of it, and then just apply and send it off. Now, the output that Alan described needs an endpoint, and in Blynk, those endpoints are data converters. Now, data converters is the way that Blynk can take in essentially any sort of data. You can just obviously create firmware if you have a device where you control the firmware of the device and it can talk directly to the internet. You can set up your firmware to just send directly to Blynk, and we have a lot of software firmware that you can use to do this very simply. But for any device where you connect either to a predefined firmware, or in this case, talking cloud to cloud, you use a data converter. Now, the data converter can take any sort of incoming message and then use a small JavaScript function to convert that into the data streams you have. And the endpoint that we put into the LoRaWAN dashboard comes from here. So you just click this and you're good to go. And now this template is created on my root organization, but within Blynk, you can create a wide sort of breadth and depth of organizations to help you structure both your customers' data or the locations or any sort of structure you need for your project. So I've created a particular project for my LoRaWAN powered smart building setup, where, as you can see, all my devices are registered. And here you have the ability to invite users to this part of my organizational structure, this sub-organization. You can create very in-depth roles and permissions for the users you invite. There's a default 3 levels of users in Blynk: admin, staff, and user. So if you want to make sure that, let's say, staff can't delete users, you can just very quickly do that. You can set tags, you can create locations, and of course create automations based on the incoming data. But for now, given the time we have, what I want to show is the dashboards. So I showed you the dashboards per device, but for something like building automations, you don't need to just know the information that a single device shows. You want to see what your entire building looks like. So here I've created a, again, drag and drop dashboard for all my devices, showing details on the most important data here in an image, the devices online, aggregated data over time. Each device, I can show aggregated data, strength by device. And then I've also created, and of course you can create these per floor, a dashboard just for a single floor. So that when your team, if this is your building, when your team needs to understand where things are happening, they can very easily go in, look at conference room up here in the corner of this room. It's looking pretty good. While over here, the server room, it's quite different. And again, this is all drag and drop. So if I want to edit this, realizing I'm not actually getting any events, I can just very quickly delete this widget, go over here, and instead, I just want to have metrics by device. Drag as I want it, make sure that it looks good over here in the corner. Select, say I want to make sure that I always keep track of humidity. Save it, and there it is. Change to the dashboard easily for the floor. And all of this is very easy to start off with and grow as you need. You can add more dashboards as you want. Obviously, add more devices as you want. You can look at each one here. And we obviously have a lot more functionality that you can grow with as you develop your product. But for now, this gives you a quick overview of how you start off from connecting a device to LoRaWAN to having a overview of your devices in Blynk in about 25 minutes.
Here we are. Thank you to both of you. I think it was impressive, I would say, how quick can be to basically build little, in this case, IoT project, but of course, both platforms are built to large-scale solutions. So yeah, we can basically assure that. Now we have the Q&A session. We already have a couple of questions ready, but to be honest, as usually, it takes time for the people to write a question, and I of course invite all our audience to add more questions. I would like to spend 1 minute on promoting IoT Sparks. The third edition is coming soon in October, and just I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we announced a great new feature of the event, basically adding one more day to the event, because on the day before the conference day, the main conference day, we have announced a workshop day. So on the day before, on the 6th of October, we are going to have 2 practical workshops, 2 hours and a half each. One is about IoT and how to, let's say, plan and then deploy and scale IoT solutions. And one is about AI and how AI can be used in a company in a more, let's say, ordered way, not just using just tool. And the first workshop will be led by LoRaWAN, and the second will be led by IBM. And then the workshop will be followed by a small city tour and an IoT drink. So it's a nice way to already start the event and start connecting and working with the other attendees. And they, of course, the day after, we have the conference with the exhibition area, our interactive and demo areas, and of course, more networking opportunities. So this is important that the workshop day is the workshops are, let's say, included, a limited seat and included in the event pass, and we will open the time to, let's say, book and reserve a seat on the workshop in September. So make sure you already have your ticket to IoT Sparks, so you can also attend the workshop. So now we can go back to our Q&A session. And as said already, we have a couple of questions. I also have one, so don't make me forget. So let's display the first one. I will also read it. This is probably, well, it can be addressed to both of you. Have you ever did long-running tests to see actual battery life for an active device? I can already say it depends on the use case, but yeah, please, I don't know, maybe Alan or Henrik.
Yeah, so it's a good question. In general, LoRaWAN devices come with all different types of battery sizes, from, let's say, small button batteries to AAAs to larger 12-volt batteries. But the actual, let's say, 10-year battery life is not just a marketing term. It generally is real-world performance. And we've had LoRaWAN projects out in the field now to really see that in action, where they've been deployed for 10 years. And ultimately, what is very clever about LoRaWAN devices is they do spend most of their time sleeping, and then they wake up and transmit. So they're very good on power consumption. And depending on how often the device is transmitting, that's really the biggest factor on affecting battery life. So if you can imagine a device is sending every minute temperature, humidity sensor, okay, in that case, maybe you do get 2 to 3 years out of the battery. But as suddenly you change it to every 2 minutes, you double the battery lifetime pretty much. And if you're talking every 10 minutes, then yes, absolutely, you'll be able to get to 10-year battery life. The devices and the network server also report the battery life status to each other. So the network server can receive this information from the device to give us a percentage value or a metric value. And I'm sure this can also be forwarded to Blynk, and that can be utilized in the Blynk platform as well to display it.
You want to add something to Alan's?
No, just to support what Alan said, that of course you can, if you have the battery life data in the data that's forwarded to Blynk, that data is, as I showed in my example, you can display it in the dashboard, either creating unified dashboards that show this data per device, or of course create automations around it so that you get a warning if the battery falls below a certain level.
Thank you. Next question is, okay, this is definitely for Alan. Does LoRaWAN support multicast sessions? And can external application use LoRa multicast setup session to manage OTA? It means update over the air. No.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so in short, yes, it does absolutely support multicast sessions. And we can say in simple terms that you can create a kind of virtual device, and that you can use that virtual device just to program a downlink. And then when it's broadcast, all other devices can use the credentials of this virtual device in order to receive the message. So you do need a device that is also multicast capable and can have this like separate credentials for multicast downlinks. And if you imagine, you can instruct, instead of, if you had 1,000 devices, instead of sending each device one message to like turn on the light or dim a light or something like that, you can ask your gateways essentially just to broadcast one message, and all 1,000 devices will be able to interpret this message and do whatever actions required. With regards to the application server, absolutely, the communication to the application is bidirectional. So from Blynk, you can also instruct the network server to send downlinks for devices, whether that's a unicast or multicast instruction. So you essentially program a API call down to the device to deliver a payload, and then select whether you want that to be a unicast or multicast broadcast.
Thank you. We don't have any other question from the audience. I had one for Henrik. I wanted to know. Well, first of all, congratulations, because the design of the UI of the app, of your solution, of the platform, is very nice. It looks very user friendly and intuitive. My question was, how is the pricing model? Do you also have a free tier, or how
Yes.
does it?
Yeah, so there's a free tier, and so the pricing model really grows with your growth. So you can go from a free tier where you can have up to 5 devices and a limited number of messages every month, all the way up to enterprise accounts where you have your own dedicated infrastructure managed by Blynk.
Okay, thank you.
So for someone who wants to start today, you can get a free account on LoRaWAN and a free account on Blynk. You get started. The only thing you need to do is to buy a LoRaWAN.
Yeah, you can start, guys, immediately with both LoRiot and Blynk with the free account, which is very good, because sometimes just not to try, but also it's a way to evaluate all the possibilities that the platform offers. So it's very good, not just for a small project to learn, but also for companies that want to evaluate the solution and what they offer. So we have actually now more question coming. So another one. This is from Marina. Thank you for asking. Does Blynk have any security certifications?
Yeah, so Blynk is SOC 2 certified.
Sorry again?
Blynk is SOC 2 certified.
Okay, thank you. It was quick. And next question is, I'm going to read it from Isham. Again, thank you as well. We can also send downlink from Blynk to the device using LoRiot. Does it also go through the data converter?
Yeah, good question. So typically in the downlink path, we start at the application server, so in this case, Blynk, and maybe we've had a device report an alert or something like that, so we want to send an instruction down to the device, right? Once that alert's come up to Blynk, then Blynk will probably have some rule base to send a payload down to the device, right? And that chain will go from application server to the LoRiot network server. It will automatically pick the best gateway that previously received an uplink, and then ask that gateway to deliver downlink. With regards to data converter, so typically most LoRaWAN devices, when you buy them, you'll be given a kind of instruction manual that will show you the different type of hexadecimal format you need for different instructions. So for example, like a reset might be a 0-1 that you need to send down to the device or something like that. So typically it's not going for the data converter, because you're using just a simple hexadecimal format to instruct the device, and that's what it uses. The hexadecimal is what it interpretates for any kind of instruction.
Thank you. Again, Henrik, you want to add something, or?
Yeah, so I would just only add that data converters on one side is incoming data, not outgoing data. So you would have to set up an HTTP connection going down to the device.
Yeah, one thing to just add, Dario, is that you can schedule downlinks, right? And you can queue many downlinks as well. So if you want to have predetermined things sent to the device, when it communicates, then it will be ready to receive those downlinks. And there's also a firmware update over the air server as well, if you want to do firmware updates via downlink to the devices.
Okay, thank you for the addition. I would say to our audience, if they want to add an additional question or a couple of questions, we have still, I would say, a couple of minutes, so we can answer them. In the meantime, let me thank Henrik, let me thank Alan as well. Let me remind you that this webinar is now live on LinkedIn and YouTube. It will be available on this platform for a replay view. So I invite you, if you are watching the Wimbledon tennis match at the moment, you can watch this webinar in a different moment. And of course, remember to follow our channels to stay updated on next webinar stuff. I don't see more questions. So yeah, again, thank you guys. Thank you to our audience, and remember to join IoT Sparks and meet all of us in Valencia in October. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks everyone.
Yes, thanks
for
everyone.
joining.
Yes.